think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're
Hello, and welcome in, everybody. How we all doing? We're back. And this time it's official, ladies and gentlemen. The grind starts now. So, Saturday afternoon, we all know what that means, folks. That means it's GTRC time, Gran Turismo Racing Community. This is the big series, the GT4 Championship Series. It is a multi-split divisional series. Today, we're doing things a little differently. We don't have full driver grids here today, so we're going to smash the two together. So we have a multi-class race happening here today, and we are going to be joined by Nolander Gaming here as well, as soon as he is up, hot, and in action. So, typically I would do the pro broadcast and Nolander will do the pro-am broadcast as the races run side by side. Today, we're going to jump in together and co-host the pro-am multi-class race here today. So, we have one big race. Each driver is still racing for an overall position, but when it comes down to the official results, it'll be broken down who the pro drivers are and who our pro-am drivers are, and they'll be placed based off of their position in their each division, so they're still getting their divisional points. It's summertime, it's getting nice out, people are on holidays, things are starting to kick in. Driver grids get a little tiny sometimes, but hey, that's alright. We got a backup plan for everything. So let's talk about our round here. As you can see on the screen in front of you, it is round 8 here tonight, and, well, it's Dragon Trail Seaside. So let's take a look at Dragon Trail Seaside. Up on the screen in front of everybody there is a little look of what Dragon Trail Seaside has to offer here today. So it is a 3.2 mile racetrack. It's a 5.2 kilometer racetrack for those of us that work in kilometers. It has 19 left and right hand turns. It is a tarmac road surface. It's an original circuit here in Gran Turismo, and it has roughly an elevation change of about 125 feet. So the dash chicane, the infamous dash chicane here at Dragon Trail Seaside, of course, always playing a factor here. But we got some inventive names here. So as we head up the racetrack, the little blue arrow on the left center side of our outline there is our start-finish line. We're heading towards the top side of the track map. So when the drivers take off, they head into turn 1, which is called Hallex. From there, we move into turns 2 and 3, and the whole sector there we call Hollow Bones. From there, that takes us into a little kink, which we call Brood, and then that takes us into the Dragon Wing and the Hailstorm. So with the Dragon Wing comes the Hailstorm, and then that takes us down a little straight run into Draciana. From there, we head into the Dragon's Lair. You see a theme here, do we not? From there, we head down into a little kink called Thunder, and that takes us into turn 12 Hydra. And, well, if we know anything about what a Hydra is, ladies and gentlemen, corner is pretty fitting there as well. It's a great opportunity to make passes before you head into the most difficult sector here in Gran Turismo 7, and that is, of course, the dash chicane. So from there, we head into, at the bottom center of our screen there, turns 11, 12, 13, and 14, which is called Dragon's Breath. That takes us into the dash chicane, which we're calling the feeding, and then that takes us into Slumber, which is the tunnel after that sector. That is where the penalties are served here today as well. The drivers have a track limit penalty handed out, and then that takes us into the final corner, the second last corner, Chimera, and into the caudal fin struts. So essentially that's a rudder on a bird, for layman's terms, for those of us that aren't sure what that means. Same thing in dragon mythology. If you do a little bit of dragon mythology research, you will see them talk about the caudal fin struts, and that's like a secondary set of scales or feathers, depending on how you want to consider it, which allows them to turn like an airplane. It gives them a little bit of a cut in the stream, which allows them to turn a little sharper and maneuver the way they need to maneuver. So the track map based off of course, Croatian ancient mythology, and they're really into their dragons over there in their ancient mythology. So huge shout out to Misdevious and the amazing looking track map as always. What are we at here? We're at 4 minutes to race start. Let's go see if our boy Nolander's up in the chat here. Oh, he is. Hey, there he is. How you doing, my guy? We'll be better as soon as the stream can hear you. There we go.
Well, I was just getting ready to message you because it looks like it's a full lobby now.
It's all right. We're good to go. It is good to go. There is one spot for you here, so we're just, whenever you're ready.
Oh, it's just fibbing to me saying that it's full. I see.
There is a driver that wasn't supposed to be in there.
Okay, then. All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome to another Nolander Gaming live broadcast, and joined here today by Mr. GT45 Gaming. We are here today with the GTRC at Dragon Trail Seaside. We have a mixture of the Pro and Pro divisions here today for a special little broadcast for y'all. How's everybody doing today? Hope y'all and yours are having an absolutely fantastically blessed and beautiful day today. How are you doing today, my friend, Mr. GT45? What's going on, my friend?
Besides being tangled up in a million cords in the new setup right now, and you're still sorting that out, we're good, my guy. We're good. How about yourself?
Good stuff. I was just having the old basic, streamer difficulties. All of the images that I tried to put on, every single one of them at first was just the interview screen.
Lovely.
So I had to go back and do it again really quickly. But we are all set. We are all good to go. And I am here on the track description, lovely track description that Miss D has provided for us. Why don't you go ahead and run us through that, my guy?
You take it over. I just went through it, actually, so...
Oh, did you? All right. Well, then, for my chat, we will go ahead and go through this for y'all. We are here today, obviously, with the GTRC, as I have said. Our virtual host is Dragon Trail Seaside, and if you look down there on the bottom left-hand side of your screen is the track key. And of course, the blue arrow is our start and finish line here. And as we run through the track clockwise, you can get a bit of a look at the track and moving forward into the very first set of corners here. And again, this is all done by Miss Devious. Does a fantastic job at doing these track maps and information here provided for us, and we're just going to go through at this point in time and give you some of the corner names that Miss Devious has provided us with some very what's the word I'm looking here for here? Some very ingenious map names, we'll put it that way, or track corner names rather. And you'll come into Hollow Bones first, will be the first sets of corners, and onto the Brood Straight, down into Dragon's Wing for your second corner, and into Hailstone, onto Dracania, and in through the Dragon's Lair and onto Thunder Strait, and down into Hydra, in through the Dragon's Breath, otherwise known as the Chicane of Death, into the Feeding and Slumber, and onto Chimera, into the Caudal Fin Struts here, which is just where your pit entrance will be. So there's a little bit of a look at that for you guys, and we'll cover a little bit more later for you guys. For now, we're going to hand it over to Mr. GT45 Gaming.
All right, so it looks like we're just getting set up for qualifying here today, ladies and gentlemen. So, with that being said, I think it's time to go see what's happening on the racetrack, shall we? All right, let's flip it over. Make sure everything's working properly. Good, fantastic. All right. Get you some information on here. So it is going to be, I believe, 5 laps of qualifying here today with the drivers. Now, we don't use the qualifying aspect of the lobbies here at the GTRC. When there is bugs and issues with it, it usually means that we got to reset the grid and it delays the process. So they just do a set amount of laps, hot laps for qualifying. When those drivers are done setting in that set amount of hot laps, they'll park their cars off of turn 1 after the start finish line, and once all the drivers of course have finished their 5 hot laps, they will start the race from there. So we do it a little bit differently here at the Gran Turismo racing community. We also of course want to shout out Apex Sim Racing, one of the title sponsors here in the series, and of course myself, GT45 Gaming, the other title sponsor here in the series as well. 2 organizations providing some prizes for these drivers here this season, and it's a decent little prize pool here as well. So it's been interesting so far this season. We're getting towards the end of the season. It's been a long season, and be interesting to see how it all sorts itself out here in just about another month and a half time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if previous rounds have been any sort of indication, we're looking at some hot racing here on track for y'all's viewing pleasure here today at Dragon Trail. It's going to be incredible, my guy. What do you think about the mix-up of the Pro and Pro-Am drivers? I think it really, really creates for some exciting racing, much like doing different divisions within classes, as in GT3 cars and GT4 cars. Much the same way. What do you think?
You know, it's interesting. I mean, if we watch real life racing, for example, you know, IMSA, GT World, Fanatec World Cup, all those great, amazing real racing organizations with these amazing GT3, GT4, LMP cars that they race all around the world. You know, multi-class doesn't necessarily mean that it is a different class of cars when you're on a racetrack. Multi-class can also mean you have different sets of divisions or class of drivers on the racetrack at the same time as well. And when we say multi-class here today, that's exactly what we're talking about. So the multi-class part of this race here is we do have our Pro division and our Pro-Am division on the same racetrack. Now, the reason for that being is we just don't have the numbers this week, so instead of doing 2 small races, smash them all together and let them have some fun on the racetrack. Now, this does a couple of things. It makes it a little bit more challenging for the pro drivers if they get caught up in some of that Pro-Am traffic, because you would expect that the Pro-Ams are going to be slightly slower and a little more off pace over the pro drivers. However, in this particular series, that is 100% not the case. We will see these Pro-Am drivers mixing in with some of these pro drivers here today as well. So for the Pro-Am drivers, you know, it's tough that you're chasing these faster drivers, but at the same time, it is a massive lesson in education for our Pro-Am drivers to be on track with our Pro Division drivers, because they can learn from what these guys are doing on the racetrack and maybe figure out how to take a corner better, or maybe find a different line through a corner that finds them a couple tenths of a second in their laps. So multi-class racing provides a challenge. I think it gives great experience to both or multiple divisions at the same time, and it really changes the way that you have to think about how you approach your race on the racetrack in an hour-long endurance like we're facing here today.
Absolutely, my guy. And the thing is the split time difference between the two different divisions here is not a lot. And like you said, it's going to really provide the Pro-Am division a really great opportunity to mix it up with these pro drivers here on track and get to learn a little bit from them, driving lines, braking points. Trail braking, all these things is going to be a benefit to our Pro-Am drivers here today.
Absolutely, and it looks like we got quite a few of our Pro-Am drivers in the lobby here today, and not so many of our pros, but it's still not going to change the fact that we're going to have a good race. Essentially, we've got two races happening on one racetrack at the same time, and that's going to really provide for an interesting aspect here tonight. So we see some drivers, of course, dropping into pit lane there, just changing tires up because, of course, tire and fuel and everything is on here in qualifying. So some of these drivers are nursing these cars around the racetrack for the first 2 or 3 laps. They're revving them out in lower gears, trying to burn off as much fuel out of these cars as possible so they can make them just a little bit lighter and then take a wicked flying lap on some fresh racing tires and absolutely just try to get the fastest time they can. So some will nurse it and do exactly that, and then some guys still just full send it around the racetrack all day long. And you know what, that is a loosely used term, some racers, because we do have 2 female drivers on the field here today.
Absolutely, and they are indeed some incredible racers, very knowledgeable, have high racing integrity, and really make these fellas put in the work, because I can guarantee you behind the scenes they're putting in the work too, and they are incredibly fast and incredibly good racers.
Absolutely, and we're just on one of them here right now with Rockefeller Racing's Miss Devious here, of course, one of our administrators at GT45 Gaming, but also a racer, and a very smart racer is Miss Devious as well. So it's been a pleasure to have her here in the series, and she is one of the 2 female drivers here competing today on track, and she races in the VR2 headset as well during competition. So a couple of our drivers in the grid here at the GTRC do race in that VR2 setup, and you know, I would assume that has its own set of challenges, especially under a pressure situation like endurance racing and racing for championships. So gonna be interesting to see what she can do in that Toyota 86 here today. And then let's move through our grid here and we'll go talk about our second female driver here, Puzzlement. So she's come in a little bit later into the season. She was, you know, she's working with the community here behind the scenes at GTRC for a while, racing in open lobbies, taking some lessons from some of the community members, and started to get feeling comfortable about how her driving ability and her pace was, and she started to get involved in the competitive part of the racing. She started with the mini series, of course, first, where it's a little more based on the fun side of things as opposed to the serious side of things, the league racing, and then she's now advanced herself up into this more serious GT4 championship as well. So we don't know a whole lot about her right now currently, but I gotta tell you, just watching the improvement over the last 3 months as she stepped into the community and where she is now, it is night and day, and I can't wait to see what she's got for this Pro-Am lobby today.
Absolutely facts, man. I have had the pleasure of calling comms for her before, and I can tell you by far and away she has come on leaps and bounds. Her pace and racecraft has really improved, and she's definitely one to watch here tonight. She'll surprise you, I'm telling you that right now.
Absolutely, and Mr. Nolander, of course, would know definitely a lot more about these Pro-Am drivers, and of course myself. This is his baby, this division, so he definitely has a little more familiarity with our Pro-Am drivers. So let's go through our field, let's sort this field out. We have Apex Jakey, who's a substitute driver in the series, but he's pretty much been here for the last 3 or 4 rounds now. Of course, a pro tier driver with Pigham's right there in second place currently in qualifying. He's also a pro driver here today. That takes us into Apex Racing CRF, and of course a title sponsor driver here in the series. He is currently sitting in third, also pro driver. And then you're going to think that the man sitting here in 4th place is in that pro division as well. We all know who Bo Snipe is over the broadcast over the last few weeks. The guy has pace. Qualified in the Pro-Am division this season, just due to the qualification process. That's the way it works sometimes with the split. So he is actually a Pro-Am division driver this season. And this is going to be one of those Pro-Am division drivers that is definitely going to mix it up with those pros. Much of the same thing here with B8 Tap. He is also a Pro-Am driver, but a pro pace driver here as well. So some of these drivers just didn't qualify well coming into the series split. So we do have some pretty high caliber pace drivers in that Pro-Am division as well. So very quick driver. That leads us into Hairraiser, who is a Pro Division driver. That Mustang hasn't been too friendly to him here so far in this series, though. That leads us into Misdevious, who's also a Pro Set driver here as well in the series. Doug Barrow's also one of our pros. We actually have quite a few of the pros here today. Fantastic. Trowan Colby, he is, I believe, fighting for that championship points lead in the Pro-Am division right now, and he is a very solid competitor, Mr. Trowan Colby. We've been broadcasting and watching this guy progress over a couple of years now, and he is definitely progressing and doing such a great job here in these competitions. He's so close to being up into that pro tier caliber level now himself. That takes us down to Snauzer, aka Action Jackson, in that beautiful DeWalt car there. He is one of our Pro-Am racers here this season as well, so is Puzzlement. Happy Pappy as well, a Pro-Am division driver, and Bandit Zeke, also a Pro-Am driver here, and of course one of our main admins here at GT45 Gaming as well. He's the main man here at GT45 Gaming. I trust this man more than I trust anybody else in the whole wide world in real life and here on the page, so we always like to see what he can do. But this is his first real year of competitive racing here this season as well, and his progression over the last couple of months has been fantastic to watch as well. So we're in for an interesting race here tonight.
Yeah, definitely, man. And as you're saying, the competition level between the two divisions is just absolutely incredible. Each of these guys and gals on track put in an incredible amount of work week in and week out to build on their racecraft, to get to know these tracks, to really push their limits, and it makes for some fantastic racing. And I can guarantee that here at Dragon Trail, it's going to be some exciting racing for an hour here, y'all. And here soon we'll get into and let Mr. GT45 go ahead and go over a little bit of the more of the racing information here for you, as far as tire degradation and fuel consumption. And go ahead and just fill us in on that, my guy.
All right, talk about putting a guy right on the spot after 2 weeks away. Hey, no. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are looking at 3 times tire wear and fuel times fuel consumption here in the series. So every time these drivers go around the racetrack for 1 lap, they're using 3 laps worth of tires and 4 laps worth of fuel. So fuel will factor in this race. Tires, it may. It's going to be hard to say. Maybe we might see some no-stop tire stop attempts, but nonetheless, we're going to see a 1-stop in these races due to fuel. Fuel is definitely going to factor in here. Of course, it is a grid start with false start check. It is set to fastest first based off qualifying. It is a balance of performance setup with no tuning allowed, so all the cars are equal. Slipstream is real. Track edge is real. The refueling speed is default at 3 liters per second, and grip is real. Other than that, it's your basic settings. It is a light damage model here in this series. However, they just let the drivers run on that light damage model. So, the light damage still penalizes that driver for 30 seconds from the time you pick up that damage. So you're going to have to drive that race car around the track for at least 30 seconds with whatever damage it is that you incurred. Sometimes it's minor damage. It doesn't really affect you too much. Sometimes it's bad damage, and you really got to readjust your driving for that 30 seconds. But it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, the Pro-Am mix here today. It's going to be an interesting race, of course. We know the most difficult corner in the whole entire Gran Turismo 7 is on this racetrack, defeating, aka the Death Chicane. We're going to see some drivers sacrifice some race cars here today. It's just inevitable. This track destroys more race cars than probably any other track in the game, and that includes Nürburgring, I think.
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure that it's caught every single driver out. There's not one that is immune to the chicane of death, or if you are one that's never been caught up and never had to experience the absolute heartache of losing it in there, then you're quite lucky, I'll tell you. But I don't believe there's ever been one, as far as I know. I do want to say a quick shout out to Mr. Pauly B. Appreciate the reaction on the stream, my guy. Welcome. You're in for a race here tonight, my guy.
Absolutely. So, of course, GT45 Gaming in the booth here. We are sitting right beside Mr. Nolander Gaming, both broadcasters for the series, coming together for a juicy round 8 race for everybody, so this should be fun.
Absolutely, man. Always an absolute pleasure to have you along side in the booth, and it's always a learning experience for me, and I can tell you, quite pleasurable experience to learn from one of the absolute best in the game.
We have a couple follows coming on the page here. We'll just give a couple shows real quick. Afghan,
So,
Hula,
y'all, we
and
are
Chella, and
just
Tua
about a
coming in.
few
Welcome to the
minutes
winner's
away
circle.
from getting this 1 hour long endurance race here in the GT4 series here with the GTRC, again, sponsored by Apex's racing team and Mr. GT45 Gaming himself. So definitely do want to say a big shout out to the sponsors for the series, and an especially big shout out for all of those individuals participating and being a huge part of the series here behind the scenes and volunteering their time and efforts to make these things go over smoothly. We absolutely appreciate you all as well. So definitely a big shout out to those guys and gals.
Absolutely. Got a little bumper cars happening here while we get ready to wait for the race start. We got Joe coming in with the thumbs up and Aaron coming in with that thumbs up on the stream as well. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't getting your notifications on Facebook, it's because Facebook won't let me tag the game that we're broadcasting. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So due to that fact, live notifications most likely aren't going out because the platform won't let me tag the game. So...
Well, fortunately, I didn't end up with that issue. So everybody that comes on in here, we most certainly have tagged Mr. GT45 Gaming as a co-streamer here today. So y'all, there should be a link provided for you to jump on over there and show that man some love as well for all the incredible hard work he does here at the GTRC.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. Unfortunately for me, because it won't let me tag a game, it won't let me tag a streamer either.
Yeah, it's all right, my guy. That's all right. It's just one of the more intricate streaming pleasures or displeasures of the streaming life, my man.
Facts. Ain't that the truth, chat? All right, so we're just chilling here. They're going to ready up here shortly, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to make sure he's got all the grid stuff saved, all that, in case we have a red flag situation. So red flags do apply here as well at the race start. If there is a multiple car incident in the first turn with lots of damage, they will red flag it. If somebody disconnects on the starting line, they'll red flag the race. If there's an early disconnection in the race, that could be a cause for a restart here as well. So we're going to reset our capture card because it's, well, doing what it always does. You know, just likes to mess around with us a little bit. All right.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, so we are on the grid. So it is going to be Apex Racing's Jake on pole, Pickham's in second, Bo Snipe in third, so Pro-Am Driver in third, CRF in fourth, Tap in fifth, Hairraiser in sixth, Type R in seventh, Miss D in eighth, Doug in ninth, Tron Colby in 10th, Snozzer in 11th, Puzzlement in 12th, Pappy in 13th, Bandit in 14th, and here we go. We're racing, ladies and gentlemen. Take it away, Nolander.
Giggity, 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 y'all. It's time to get to racing. Here we go. They're off and running, off and running. Everybody got off to a clean, smooth start. We're 3 and 4 wide coming into turn 1 here. Everybody keeping it calm, clean, fast, and efficient on the racetrack. Got just a little bit of bumping and drafting going on here, but smoothly through the first sets of corners.
All right, let's take another look at that 3 wide going in between Miss Devious, Tro, and Colby, and I believe that was Doug Barrow there. A little bit of an accordion effect happening there, so a couple of cars getting into damage there, but everybody making it through there safe and sound. So good job to all the drivers there in a tough situation as we got bottled up going into Hollow Bones there on the first lap.
Absolutely, everybody working their way into single file here and just clipping along great. We'll see what happens as we get further into this racetrack, because we all know what's coming up. And just a corner away, we are going to see everybody get through the chicane of death or the feeding.
So Bo Snipe in 9th place there, making a big mistake as he was coming up through the Dragon's Lair, coming off the final S there. He went a little wide on that curb into the sand, and it cost him several positions there as he still got back on the track and didn't spin that car out, but boy oh boy, dropping positions quickly there all the way down to P9 after going out of the Dragon's Lair there.
Our first 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 drivers, everybody makes it through the feeding on the first time, absolutely flawlessly, crisp and clean, beautiful. and great work from all the drivers there. Fantastic job.
A great move there from Bo Snipe in 8th place on Type R as he was scrubbing those dirty tires off coming into the corner. A great late braking move going into Chimera there. And he's going to grab P8 from Type R. So back up towards the front of the grid is Bo Snipe now in the charge, but it is Apex Jakey leading things off, and Pigham's very close behind chasing. That leaves Apex CRF and Hair Razor here in 3rd and 4th place, and our top 4 drivers are those Pro Division drivers here currently, and our first Pro-Am driver is Tap here in 5th place, and he's got Doug Burrow tucked right in behind him there in that Lexus.
Yeah, and Miss Divas just behind Barrow, really closing in the gap now. Starting to actually lose just a pinch of time going up the hill here, but that you can see will be closed up rather quickly. Meanwhile, Mr. Bo Snipe on the move here, starting to close that gap up on Miss Devious as we come in through the S's here.
And all drivers still relatively close to each other here, so we haven't seen any big incidents yet on the racetrack, even if it was a solo incident, so that's fantastic to see. Very difficult racetrack.
Yeah, indeed it is. Indeed it is. So we got Type R sitting in 9th place here, which followed by Trone Colby and Puzzlement in 11th, and Snozzer just behind in P12. All these drivers maintaining a relative, very close distance to one another. P1 through P12, not a whole lot of spacing going on.
Oh, and Doug gets it wrong in the chicane, and oh, Miss Devious gets collected, and we got 2 drivers that just sacrificing race cars right there going into the feeding, and oh boy, that is going to be tough for those 2 drivers here racing. Now we're 5 deep coming through there after all the jostling in position. And oh boy, that was a tough hit there by Doug Burrow going in a little bit wide, and I think Miss Devious just collected there as Doug was kind of sideways in the entry of the feeding there. So very tough racing here already tonight, and the Dragon Trail already claiming a couple victims here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, P6 through P10 doing a fantastic job. As you said, those 5 drivers right there in very close proximity to one another. Just every one of them keeping it calm, cool, and collected, and just maintaining their pace. Nobody really having to slow down for one another. Just all absolutely flat out on the move. Now we got Type R getting around Puzzlement and Bo Snipe looking to make a move potentially on the both of them. Bo had dropped back down a position. Now he's looking to take that position back from Type R. Does get the move done on the inside and is all over Snozzer's case now. So Bo moving up the field again here.
So we're just going to take a look at that on the replay here, chat, real quick. You can see he's coming in through Dragon's Wing, heading into Hailstorm, gets inside a Type R there. That was a great move right there by Bo Snipe, and right on to the next driver there. So, like Nolanner just said, absolutely clean, efficient pass made there by Bo Snipe.
Yeah, indeed, and I'll tell you what, we got Piggums all over the back of Apex's Jakey doing a fantastic job of keeping up with Jakey. He is a very quick driver, and they're both just absolutely sending it through the chicane of death here, and boy howdy, that was a bit slideways there. But making it.
Ooh, and Snozzer getting claimed in and the feeding there as he makes a mistake under braking, and he goes headfirst into the mid wall there as well. Ooh, Dragon Trail's biting today, folks.
Ooh, boy howdy, we just gave a look on the replay there really quickly. Snozzer collecting a lot of that wall and having quite the confrontation with Barry R there.
Absolutely, and Pat Zeke now on his case after that huge hit going into the feeding. So we've seen 3 drivers on, what are we, lap 3 already get collected. So about a driver a lap average right now for Dragon Trail Seaside here. And yeah, Doug and Miss Devious here is doing everything they can to get back up into this fight in the pack here as well. So definitely a pretty crazy race here so far.
Yeah, Bo Snipe sitting in P7 currently, trailing Trone Colby, moving through the field rather efficiently up until this point, and I'm looking at him making a move here, coming through the S's. He's gaining that ground rather quickly. Takes a look to the inside, decides to tuck back in. Now's not the time. Takes a look again. Nope, and here comes the potential move coming out.
I think Bandit just got, Bandit got collected coming up the S's heading into into, of course, Hydra there. So Bandit Zeke making a mistake coming out of the Dragon's Lair as well. And this racetrack is really bearing its teeth today.
Absolutely. Bo Knight able to get that move done on Trone Colby, so we now have another swap in position. Bo moving up into 6. Trone still right there, though. Ain't going anywhere.
And we got a battle here for 3rd and 4th place right now between CRF and Hair Razor. Now, I'm not really sure if this is necessarily a battle, but CRF is definitely all over the back of that Mustang right now in that Corvette. Maybe a little strategy here. Maybe he's just chilling right now on the slipstream trying to save some fuel and tire, but definitely looked like he was going to make something happen there as he closed in on the 3rd place driver, Hair Razor.
Absolutely. A bit of an American muscle battle going on here between that Ford Mustang and the Chevrolet Corvette here, and the form of Hair Razor in the Mustang and CRF in that beautifully done livery, Apex livery at that. Hair Razor getting a little sideways there, manages to hold on to the car. Beautifully done there. He could have easily lost it on that berm there. I don't know that I should be calling it a berm, but that curve anyways can really take a fella out with a quickness. UTAP moving up as well. He's in 5th place, looking really crisp and clean, maintaining that gap.
And I just want to make a note of something too. For if you take a close look at this car on screen of Apex Sim Racing CRF here, ladies and gentlemen, it says USMC on the front and the back. And that stands, of course, for the United States Marine Corps. So first and foremost, I'd just like to thank CRF for everything he's done, of course, for his country and his people. Thank you for his service. It's greatly appreciated, and he is still currently serving as well, ladies and gentlemen. So just a little side note there. Obviously, it's important. Our armies, no matter where it is in the world, our soldiers are very, very important to us. They fight for our freedom. So when we get a chance, we'd like to shout them out. And, of course, obviously the reason for the color on that race car as well. Very proud Marine here is CRF. So just a big thank you to him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Always love to support our men and women in the armed services, as they are a very integral part of maintaining the safety of our countries. And just a huge thank you and shout out, and our prayers go out to them and their families as they're away doing these very important work around the United States and the world, no matter where you're from. They're all dealing with the same things and doing their duty for their country.
Absolutely. Got GT45 Gaming coming in with that thumbs up on the stream. You want to talk about legends? Legend in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We have a nice little spicy battle between 8th and 9th place Type R and Puzzlement 123 here. Now, she tried to get a little bit inside of Type R there just a few quarters ago, and he absolutely shut the door. But that has not strayed Puzzlement away from this battle. Oh, Miss Devious has. Looks like she's disconnected here.
Oh no, unfortunate. Meanwhile, as you're saying that, Puzzlement really gaining some ground on Type R there, and then Type R just turns on the jets and opens up just a little bit of a gap, only half a second separating these two, but it was like 1/10 of a second just moments ago.
Absolutely, and Type R is a very strong defending race car driver as well. He's very difficult to get around, so you got to play it smart when you're trying to get around Type R. You just got to wait for him to make a mistake or leave a little bit of room for you to get in there, and it's not too often that he makes that mistake while he's defending either. So that's going to be a good battle between those two here for a bit, I think, and that may allow guys like Happy Pappy, Snozzer, Doug to start to close that gap up too as they continue to try and battle for that position. Bandit up in behind here as well, sitting about 18 seconds behind the pack here. So that's not one little incident there has cost some of these drivers here on the racetrack, but a lot of race left. We still have 49 minutes of racing left to go here yet today.
Absolutely. Light damage or not, 30 seconds of damage can really put quite the wrinkle in your race. We do have Happy Pappy sitting here in P10, followed by Snozzer in P11. Doug Barrow here in P12, Bandit rounding out your field here, as you say, in P13. Meanwhile, Apex still has not managed to lead Piggums. Piggums still all over him, just 7/10 of a second down, and managing to stay well within that slipstream of Jakey, who has currently got the fastest lap on the track with a 1:46.472. So not moving along slowly by any means here on Dragon Trail today. Airways in that P3 with CRF just in behind him still, just 9/10 of a second down from him. Meanwhile, UTAP still maintaining that about 2-second gap off from the back of 4th place, but Bo Snipe is gaining traction on UTAP, just about 1.5 seconds back now, sitting in P6 currently.
Absolutely, and it's been a good little race here so far. Everybody tried to settle in very quickly, which is always a good thing to see. That means everybody's ready to race. So pit strategy is going to change things up. We're going to see a little bit of delay and probably a break in between these drivers at some point in the race, especially the middle part of the race, because that's just kind of when everybody's really focused and dialed in on that strategy. So right now it's just about gaining position, gaining time, trying to give yourself the best chance you can to win for that second stint of your race. I doubt we're going to see 2-stop strategies here today. I do suspect we're going to see a very large amount of 1-stop mid-race, past mid-race strategy pit stops here.
Making a move on the inside of Type R, does get the move done, so Puzzlement picking up a position there, moves up into P8. Fantastic move there by Puzzlement, but here comes Type R, taking a look along the inside. He's going to have the inside of the first corner, give Puzzlement the inside for the second corner here, and we got a race going on here, y'all, between Type R and Puzzlement side by side.
Puzzlement Puzzlement there just, I think, made the smart decision and just let him have the run through there. So I really do think that these two are going to have a good battle all race long if this continues. It's very clean racing between the two of these here drivers as well. So, I mean, pass made, response made. Let's see what happens now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, as you mentioned, that very high racing integrity being shown all throughout the field here today between our Pro and Pro-Am divisions on the track at the same time here today. If you are unawares, that is what we got going on here. And really, I'll tell you, you couldn't tell if we didn't tell you. But
absolutely.
We do have battle here between P10, 11, and 12. Doug Barrow all over the back of Snozzer. Snozzer all over the back of Happy Pappy. And we're going to see if Doug's going to make a move here on the inside of the racetrack. Looks like he's going to go for it. Is he going to get it done?
Looks like job done here. Absolutely.
Fantastic move there.
I was just watching that as you started talking to us. That was some good timing there. But yeah, nice little cluster of cars here for 10th, 11th, and 12th place. Now, one pro driver mixed in between the two Pro-Ams here right now. And the only Doug being there, of course, because he fell victim to the feeding earlier on in the race here as well. But now he's going to take a look here up the inside of Pappy coming into Chimera as well. And he's got that inside track, but that doesn't mean that he's going to get that position, because you could hold a really strong outside line here on the racetrack as well. And a little bit of an aggressive defense there from Doug there as well. So making sure he wasn't going to give Pappy any opportunity to try and get back around him there.
Yeah, Snozzer darn near got the move done on both of them there. Had to back out. Now just falls in line behind Happy Pappy. So great little battle going on here between 10th, 11th, and 12th. As Snozzer goes up to the inside of Happy Pappy again. Pappy got the inside for the next corner. What a battle going on here. Pappy gets a little sideways. Snozzer going to take a look again.
Yeah, while you're watching that one, we've got a four-way battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place going on the racetrack here as well, as CRF was ahead of Hair Razor. Hair Razor just taking P3 back from CRF, and we have 4 drivers fighting for that final podium position here right now as well. So lots is happening here today on the racetrack. It's awesome to have a second set of eyes.
Indeed, indeed. Just switched over to this battle here between P3, 4, 5, and 6 as they're just about to make their way again through the chicane of death. And we'll see as they come in. Hair Razor makes it through, CRF makes it through, UTAP makes it through, Bo makes it through. All 4 drivers making it through nice, crisp, and clean here, and showing us how it is done.
All Alright, so we're heading into Chimera here, and then the caudal fin struts, and that's just a little kink before the start-finish line here. Let's see if anybody gets a run on anybody here. CRF gets a pretty good exit, but you can see that Mustang has got some great pull speed as he's actually pulling away from that Corvette in behind him. So right now, the Battle of the Americas, Ford leading Chevy here at the moment, but CRF, he is far from done with this battle yet.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, right now, Pigham's still doing an amazing job keeping up with Apex's Jake. He's still just right there, just 0.8 of a second off the back of Jakey, perhaps. Just doing a bit of strategic racing here and trying to save a bit on fuel, trying to save a bit on his tires, and just settle into this race as we are only on lap 10 and just 17 minutes into this race. So lots of race time here to go, but Pigham's doing a great job right now keeping up with Apex's Jakey.
Absolutely. Here we were just on board with Bo Snipe as Tap was trying to find a way around, and there Bo Snipe doing a great job of covering that inside line through the racetrack here so far. But now we're on board with the sixth place driver as he tries to again continue this battle, and we're heading into Hydra, and this is a great spot to try and make a move. So does Bo defend or does he stay on the line? He's going to stay on the line, so we're going to see an attempt here from Tap to move up into P5 on Bo Snipe. No, Tap's being very, very patient here. He's just going to allow Bo Snipe to slip back up in front there. He's going to settle into line. You don't go too wide heading into the feeding. It's just a big no-no here. Every racer that races knows that here, and you will always see these drivers play nice right through here, and then it's battle right back on.
Yeah, absolutely. UTAP getting a little sideways coming out of the feeding there, and Bo doing a fantastic job there. Some late braking from him, but UTAP kept taking a look to the inside again.
And we still got this healthy battle between 8th and 9th place, Puzzlement and Type R. And Puzzlement gets a great run coming out of the feeding, heading into Chimera, and she's going to get the job done before they even head into the second last corner here. So Puzzlement is looking feisty tonight. Ooh, she is on a tear in that Cayman GT4 Porsche right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I stated earlier, boy, howdy, you really got to watch out because she is a driver that can lay down the moves and really will surprise the driver from time to time because she is most certainly an efficient race car driver.
Doug's starting to pull away from that little pack in behind him with Action Jackson and Happy Pappy there now as well. So this battle for the time being anyways has settled down. Bandit's just coming into the feeding here right now. Struggling a little bit here today, but points are points. And the drivers that stay on the racetrack for the race are collecting points. So it all matters at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what he's not doing wrong. He's doing a very strategic race now and looking really good. Although our viewers can't see it, we can see it. But he's doing very good on his fuel and tire management. So perhaps a bit of strategic racing going on here from our 13th place Bandit Zeke. Still looking good and definitely in this race as we still got 40 minutes of racing to go here at Dragon Trail Seaside.
Absolutely.
So, now taking over, Jakey must have made a mistake somewhere. Pigham's now moves up into P1.
I was just about to say that as you caught that there. We're actually just sitting on board with, again, that big cluster of cars for third place here. Nothing really happening, but again, these drivers not really losing each other here either. So these four drivers clearly very, very similar in pace here today, and this should set up for a pretty good final stint of racing here if this continues to be the trend. We got Hair Razor's actually going to come in for a pit stop with 40 minutes remaining in the race here. So Hair Razor may be looking to be on a two-stop strategy here today.
Yeah, and Bo Snipe here in P4 now is looking to make a move on CRF, and he's going to get this move done for the time being, but he's going to have the outside for the first corner here. And
that is how you race side by side through hollow bones, ladies and gentlemen. That was beautifully done. Beautifully done by both drivers.
CRF all over his business, though, still not going away anytime soon.
We got us a race here, chat. We got us a race.
Cap really closed that distance there with some late braking, absolutely in control the whole time, but really closed that distance. Now Bo starting to pull away from Apex's CRF here. Fantastic bit of racing going on between P3, 4, and 5 right now.
And now we take a look at P6's puzzlement here. She's starting to open up that gap on Type R. It's 2 seconds plus now here in that Cayman Porsche. Boy, is she on a charge as she's trying to track down that front group, and it is coming down as she heads around the racetrack here. So she got into some clean air. She's not fighting that driver anymore. Her pace is really starting to show here.
Yeah, absolutely. As you stated, starting to gain a little bit of ground on Type R now. 2.4 seconds up the road, and she's just kind of off in her own little world right now, which is a good spot to be for many drivers. Just can focus on their own race, don't have to worry about an immediate pass or threat from the racer behind. Just got to worry about catching the racers in front.
Absolutely. And we're just taking a look at some of the tires and some of the fuel here, and we're definitely going to see a mix of 2- and 1-stop strategies today without a question of a doubt. It's going to be interesting to see how the 2-stoppers manage that 2-stop, because obviously with a 2-stop strategy you have a couple of options. You're going to have fresh tires, you're going to have a full tank of fuel, you can just send it for 20 minutes, or you be conservative, try to still save your fuel, maintain your pace, and then that way there, when you make your second stop of the race, you're literally hopefully just taking a splash and dash and gone again.
Yeah, indeed. Race strategy, pit strategy really plays a part in these endurance races, especially a 1-hour endurance races. We see Doug Barrow picking up another position, getting around Type R as well. So moving through the field is Doug Barrow up into P6 now.
Absolutely, and well, we'll see how long it takes before Doug decides to pitch here, but I do suspect the Type R may be able to respond back here if they do continue on to try and stretch it out to the 30-minute mark of this race here today.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, we got Happy Pappy sitting here in P8 and gaining some ground on P7 there at that time, just dropping off a little bit, goes back up a little bit as they're coming in through the corners. That's just kind of how it goes, but looking really racy here today is Happy Pappy. Snozzer just maintaining that 1.6 second deficit to Happy Pappy, but no means out of this race either, and sitting pretty good in P9 here, looking good on his tires and fuel consumption as well, with Hair Razor in P10 having come out of the pits, and that is where he'll land, and Trone Colby as well coming out of the pits. So few of our drivers here having already made some pit stops, Puzzlement included, sits in P12 now. Bandit Zeke still doing a fantastic job, got plenty of fuel, plenty of tires left just to keep going, and now finds himself just 6.8 seconds behind Puzzlement, when previously he was 40 seconds behind any racer. So his fuel and tire strategy definitely paying dividends here tonight at Dragon Trail Seaside.
Absolutely, and he's kind of in a position where he can almost go to probably about the 45 minute mark right now with what I see sitting in his car for fuel. So you know, that could make for an interesting strategy. Some fresh tires and a little bit of fuel could really give him an opportunity to make up time late in the race.
Absolutely. I'm just on board here with Pigham still has Apex Jakey not far behind him, just 0.2 of a second, but Pigham still managing to hold on to the race lead here for the time being, as we are on lap 14, and they are once again approaching the feeding here as they come into. We'll keep an eye out on these two racers just clipping along and smooth sailing for the both of them once again. And Bo Snipe here up into P3 now. This Pro-Am division racer who really showing his racing prowess here at Dragon Trail Seaside tonight. Very smooth racer is Bo Snipe, and also quite the strategist when it comes to racing strategy. UTAP here in P4 following just behind.
And then we have CRF here in P5 as well, so he's just kind of, you know, he hasn't really seemed to panic this race so far from what I've seen. Oh, Tap makes a mistake. CRF's got to dodge and avoid there. Tap is trying to get that car spun around and not lose too many positions, so CRF gets a freebie there as he heads up into 4th place. So Tap making a mistake coming out of the caudal fin struts there. Maybe caught a little too much of that curb and just unsettled that car. It can launch your race car if you take too much of that curbing in the caudal fin struts, the final corner. And it will put 2 tires off the ground, which then you're just kind of along for the ride at that point, hoping you don't hit anything. So That may have been what happened there at the top, but CRF is going to benefit. And again, you know, as I was just saying, as all the crazy happened in front of us there, he seems to be just running his race. You know, he's just chilling. He's driving. He's got his strategy. He's sticking to it. And if there's a battle in front of him, he is all for it. But seems to me like he is just sticking to his game plan here today.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, I see a whole lot of success in drivers who do that and maintain their racing strategy no matter what's going on in through the field around them. And when they just focus on their race and not worry about so much about what's going on around them, they really seem to do well. And boy, howdy, I got to say once again, that livery on that car for Apex and CRF is fantastically done. What a beautiful livery. Absolutely. Just got a good look at the hood and the passenger side of that car, and boy howdy, that's a good looking livery right there. I do have to say so myself, being a livery designer and creator myself, that is very, very stylishly done.
So we do have, of course, after a round of pit stops from these two drivers, we have 11th place Doug and 12th place Puzzleman here having a little bit of maybe not battle yet, but definitely nose to tail here as we head into the Dragon's Lair. The uphill S is here in Dragon Trail Seaside.
Yeah, and we do have Snozzer all over the back of Happy Pappy. Now takes the move and does grab that position from Happy Pappy, moves up into P7. Coming out of the feeding, so well done. Got himself a great run through there and gets the move done, moves up into P7 and now has Type R in his sights.
Absolutely, we're just taking a look at that there as we weren't quite there when you were talking about it. That was a great move there by Action Jackson on Happy Pappy heading into Chimera there. So got a great run through the feeding there, as Nolander said, and totally took advantage of the situation at hand there and moves himself up another spot in the grid here.
Indeed, Tron Colby finding himself sitting in P10, but does have on a fresher set of tires, looking good on fuel with Doug Barrow here in P11, also on a fresher set of tires with a good amount of fuel, but Puzzlement right there and not willing to consent to Doug Barrow just running away with this thing. She has been having a very clean race here tonight, and I am looking for her to do well in this race. Even beings as how it is Pro and Pro-Am divisions here, as both of our race leaders in the form of Piggums and Apex Jakey now coming in to make their first pit stops. That is going to give Bo Snipe the opportunity to pull in just behind them, currently sitting in P3 now. Question is, and there he goes, CRF into the race lead now.
We're just sitting on board with Apex, sorry, not Apex, Piggums. Our current race leader as he came into pit lane there, and we're just watching the magic happen behind the scenes. So a little look at what it takes to get the tires and the fuel in these cars. You can see our lollipop man there telling him he can't go yet as that fuel man. You can still see the fuel man trying to get that fuel into that race car here. And the driver now very anxiously waiting for that lollipop to turn around so he can hit that loud pedal. And boy, oh boy, this is a lengthy stop here for Piggums, and there we go, lollipop comes up and he is out. And where is that going to put him out on the field? Jake's still tucked in right in behind, and he's going to come out what looks to be in 4th or 5th place, but there is a hair raiser flying down the track here as well, so they're going to come out in 5th and 6th place here, but all of the drivers up in front are going to owe pit stops.
Yeah, UTAP sitting in P2 currently, as well as CRF. They're definitely going to be having to make a pit stop along with Happy Pappy. Hair Raiser's looking good. Piggums all over him, and Jakey all over Piggums as well. Looking rather feisty is Jakey always, and oh wow, he cut a lot of that grass and the car didn't even wiggle. Wow. That was some great driving there by Apex's Jakey.
Intense moments. And I think, you know, I was thinking about it. I don't think it was that Jakey made a mistake that Piggums got around him there. Jakey knows that McLaren's not quite as good on fuel as, say, the Supra is. He may have been using Piggums to save enough fuel to get to his pit strategy.
Absolutely. That very well could be the case. Both of them now sitting very identically both of them coming out nearly exactly at the same time of the pits and jumping right back out onto the racetrack in P5 and P6. Meanwhile, we got Trone Colby looking pretty good as well here in P7, and Bose Knight in P8, having both of those drivers having made their first pit stops. Now we got CRF and UTAP coming in to the pits as well. UTAP coming in on fumes, and CRF with just 1% of fuel. So taking it right to the limit are these racers here at Dragon Trail Seaside.
And I mean, you know, it's just your classic case of undercut versus overcut strategies. Every driver's just trying to gain that little advantage, that extra second around the racetrack on the other driver. And really, that could make the difference at the end of the race when you're finally done your pit stops. So it's overcut versus undercut here, which we see pretty much every week. So gonna be interesting to see which strategy is the winning one here this week.
Oh, for sure. That 1 second difference in the strategy between any different strategy can really make all the difference in the entirety of your race. And you really wouldn't think that 1 second could make a difference, but you could lose a race by 1/1000th of a second. So a full second really can make all the difference in the world on a racetrack.
Absolutely, and Hair Razor, of course, appears to be on a two-stop strategy here with a very early pit stop in the race at the 20-minute mark. So we do suspect to see that Hair Razor is going to stop at some point in time here. You get Bandit Zeke there, 14th, blue flag car here now as he's just come out of pit lane there as well. You can see him giving way to Hair Razor there. And the other drivers are just going to have to sit tight here as, of course, he's in the corner. And great job by Bandit there just to get out of the way, do the right thing immediately. He sees a three-way battle for the lead happening in behind him. Kudos to Bandit Zeke right there. Difficult sector to let all three drivers without incident through there.
Absolutely, and once again, these Pro-Am drivers showing that they have some serious racing integrity as well, and that was beautifully done. That's exactly how that should take place. All three leading drivers just continuing on with their race unhindered whatsoever by the man in front of them. So definitely big props to Bandit there, showing the world how it's done.
Absolutely, we got a battle here between Type R and Action Jackson here for 10th and 11th places, or 9th and 10th, sorry, as we head into Hydra. And Type R with the inside track here, but Action Jackson gets a great run through the corner, and that's going to mean Type R is going to have to tuck in behind here as we head into Dragon's Breath and, of course, the feeding. So this is not a spot where you force a battle here. Like I said, every real racer knows that here. They usually show each other the respect here because of this set of corners that they just went through right there. The feeding has claimed several victims here already tonight, so it wrecks race cars. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Woo-wee! Boy, howdy, y'all gotta see that. Let me tell you what. Man alive, check this out. Driftage! Mr. Bose Knight getting it all sorts of slideways, perfectly under control. Fantastic view there. That was great.
Oh boy, we got Doug Barrow off track here into the wall and all kinds of damage, facing the wrong way down the racetrack. Oh boy, it has not been a good day for Mr. Doug Barrow. Let's see what happened here as we're coming through Hollow Bones. Everything seems to be fine and dandy here. Oh, he just gets over the brim of that curb on the exit of Hollow Bones and hits that grass, and boy did he go for a ride. Hard hit into the wall, damage all over that race car. Ooh, not what Doug Barrow was looking for here today, but he's back on track and he's going to continue on here, so.
Yeah, no doubt, indeed. Meanwhile, Snozzer here still sitting in P10 with Type R in 11th, and Happy Pappy just in behind them, just 2.2 seconds back behind Type R, sitting in P12 currently, and still looking crisp and clean. A battle for 9th, 10th, and 11th, or rather 10th, 11th, and 12th. My apologies, y'all.
Again, Bandit Zeke in a situation where he's got some lead lap traffic coming up on him here and doing the right things. And you know what the beautiful thing is about what we've seen here so far from Bandit tonight? He hasn't cost himself any time at all either while letting these drivers through.
No, he absolutely does a fantastic job week in and week out if he comes into a situation like that and just absolutely spot on, nails it every time.
Ooh, big slide. Ooh, but he manages to keep it out of the wall. That was a great counter steer right there. And oh boy, Great save there from Bandit. Even though it was a spin, he keeps that thing out of the wall. And that's going to give him a great chance here. But boy, oh boy, what a great reaction from Bandit right there as he gets that car spun around to keep it out of the wall.
Out of the wall, out of the damage, and therefore continuing on, and he gets it wrong again, but still manages to keep it out of the damage. He was dealing with a bit of dirty shoes on that race car, but I'll tell you what, incredible job once again, twice in a row to keep that car under control enough to keep it out of the damage. Meanwhile, Hair Razor here leading the pack, still in P1, showing he has got some great race pace as well, out in front of Pigham's and Apex's Jakey here.
Unfortunately for Hair Razor here, though, you know, the fuel's depleting in that Mustang, again, on that two-stop strategy, so at some point he is going to relinquish this position to these two drivers here. And then what happens from there to Hair Razor is hard to say because the two drivers in behind are on that one-stop strategy, so they shouldn't have to make another pit stop again. However, might not be the case. You know, if they made a miscalculation in that fuel, or they pushed the car a little too hard in a battle, you know, that could definitely change things on the last lap of the race as well. Wrecks cars and wrecks dreams. Absolutely, Aaron.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. And the thing is right now, Pigham's and Jakey both sitting identical on fuel and tires, nearly identical anyways. Meanwhile, Trone Colby here having himself a great race, currently sitting in P4, but he does have Mr. Bo Snipe closing that gap on him. Bo currently in P5 with CRF here in P6. We got UTAP in P7, still 16 seconds down, but looking really good on fuel and tires. So in a good position is UTAP here. Puzzlement right there as well in P8. Doug Barrow sitting here in P9.
I hate to cut you off here, but we definitely have a battle for position here up front. We got Pigham's and Jakey looking up the inside of Hair Razor as we head in through Hydra here, and it looks like they're both going to get the job done. I think Hair Razor realizes they're on fresher tires. He just backed out of that just a little bit there. You see the tap of the brake from Hair Razor there. And again, these drivers know you can't do this 2x2 through here, so everybody settles into their respective position. But Pigham's makes a mistake, and Jakey takes the lead back now, and Hair Razor might get a run on Pigham's and go into P2 here, but no, Hair Razor's just going to give a bump to Pigham's there, as Hair Razor's probably going to be making a pit stop this lap or next lap, so there's no point in making that pass and holding each other up at this point. Just tries to give him a little help up the road, and he's going to take advantage of that slipstream here for one more time around, but we're definitely going to be seeing Hair Razor coming into the pits next time around.
No, that was definitely a beautiful move there by Jakey coming out of the feeding as well. Both Pigham's and Jakey getting a little bit sideways, but Jakey just holding on to that momentum and just sails right by Pigham's, who did not come out of the feeding slowly at all. He was cruising, but Jakey just having some serious pace coming out of the feeding there, otherwise known as the chicane of death.
That was very beautiful. We've seen lots of great passes. We've seen lots of great moments here on the racetrack today in this multi-class style race. So it's been pretty good to watch here so far. We got Doug here in 9th, Action Jackson in 10th. We've got a little bit of separation from some of the drivers here. Oh, and Bandit getting collected up, coming out of the feeding, just staying out of the way of Happy Pappy there. So Bandit just having a rough day on the racetrack here today, but he's still motoring.
Yeah, and now Jakey really looking to try to run away with this thing. He's got 9/10 of a second, nearly out of the slipstream of Pigham's, and just launched that car, and he's not slowing down at all, not wanting to allow Pigham's to get back into that slipstream, making him use a little bit more fuel, making him use a little bit more tire, whatever he can do to get him to burn the resources on that race car of Pigham's. But it's not working. Pigham's is closing up that gap again, just 0.5 of a second, gaining a lot of ground through the feeding there does Pigham's. Boy, howdy, he gained 0.6 of a second right there, and now is all over the back of Apex's Jakey once again. But these two drivers still have not lost Hair Razor. Hair Razor still right there now.
Oh, Snipe, sorry to cut you off here. We got a position battle for 4th and 5th here, too, as I've been watching this as you were talking about the next battle there. Bo Snipe and Trone Colby, this is also a class battle, never mind positional battle, so this is a very important battle between the two drivers, and Bo Snipe got a great run coming out of the feeding, much like what Nolan was just talking about in the battle up ahead there, and he gets him round Tyrone Colby, but then Tyrone Colby opted to come into pit lane for his second stop here, so probably won't see too much more of that for the time being, but some great battling happening all over this track today.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Bo Snipe, incredible racer he is, part of Team Rad, and super happy with the racing integrity of this driver, now finding himself in P3 in this mixture of Pro and Pro-Am division racers, having an incredible race and looking really solid right now.
And I gotta tell you, Chad, it's not all pros up leading this race. It's a pro, it's a pro, it's a pro-am, it's a pro, it's a pro-am, it's a pro-am, and it's 2 pros. So there you go.
Yeah, indeed. As we had previously mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, if we'd have never mentioned or told the fans and spectators of this race that this was a mixture of the Pro and Pro-Am divisions, you wouldn't hardly even know it. Their paces are not far off from one another, and they all have some really great racing integrity and race pace altogether, as well as strategy.
Absolutely, and puzzlement. Best race of the season for Puzzleman here so far in this championship season from what I've seen as well. Currently sitting 3rd overall in her class, the Pro-Am division.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sitting just 1.9 seconds off the back of UTAP. She's definitely having an incredible race here. Perhaps it's just that growth that she's been experiencing and just reached another level, or perhaps it is the racetrack here, and maybe she's just a big fan of this racetrack and it's one of her stronger racetracks. As you can see her just flying through the feeding there. No bobble, no wiggle, no nothing. Just straight on, keeps on a cruising.
Absolutely. The confidence is definitely there for that driver as she continues on down the track. And that looked tough. Yeah. The feeding claiming many victims here tonight. I believe that's a half dozen cars wrecked now through that sector of the racetrack here today. So definitely getting its fill of wrecked race cars here today.
Yeah, and that was a hard hit. I'm really rather surprised he didn't end up with engine damage on that. Boy, he tagged that wall coming out of the feeding there.
Oh boy, and Bandit having an issue now just in front of Doug there too, coming through Chimera. So this racetrack, maybe the cooler track conditions are really starting to play in here. Some of these drivers are on maybe more worn out tires than others, and maybe that is where our struggles. You can see the clouds are starting to settle in here over the racetrack. So maybe some cooler track conditions are creating a little bit more icier conditions for these drivers currently.
Indeed, track conditions have begun to cool off. As you say, the clouds really rolling in. No sun on the racetrack here whatsoever, which is definitely going to affect each of these racers and how much grip these tires are providing them. And that'll change for every degree of temperature that track temperature changes. Every degree that goes down is a degree or so to speak of grip that these tires are going to be able to provide these racers with.
Exactly, and I mean what happens with racing tires is you start with a temperature, a cold temperature, and then you do expect that those tires are going to grow, increase in radius, obviously with the heat provided by racing these cars around the racetrack. So it's tricky with the weather variable that we have here, because your tires aren't necessarily going to stay at optimal temperature during a sunny condition stint if that's how you have your car set up. So when it cools down, what that means is that your tire temperature might not build up as much as you need it to have quote unquote optimal grip underneath your race car, and that's what these drivers really got to struggle with when they decide how to set that race car up, of course, before the race starts. So the drivers that think about the long run typically allow a mid setup for those types of variations in the weather, but some drivers just set up for what's sitting in front of them, and that could be some of the issue we're seeing between some of the drivers on the cars. Their cars are just starting to lose that optimal amount of air pressure in the racing tire.
Yeah, for sure. Your racing strategy really could be otherwise looked at as a gamble. You're really just gambling on your knowledge of distance, tire wear from previous races, and then the weather comes in and throws a bit of a wrench in the whole system, and you really got to make decisions on the fly, and those decisions that are made on the fly can really make or break a race for individual racers. But I'll tell you what, man, Mr. GT45, we've been looking at a 45-minute battle between Piggums and Apex's Jakey. Piggums, again, finding himself on top of that battle, currently leading this race once again, and this has been a relentless battle between P1 and P2. Both racers just doing an incredible job, but I'll tell you what, Bo Snipe, just 10.5 seconds behind these two, off in his own little world, and a 5-second lead over P4 in the form of Apex's CRF, also having himself an incredible lead, leads P5 by 18.8 seconds. So having himself a fantastic race here is CRF.
Absolutely. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have different variations of GT4 racing cars on the racetrack as well. You may see two of the same car, and that's because you have a Pro and a Pro-Am driving that car. Other than that, these drivers aren't allowed to drive. There's only one of each class or each manufacturer car allowed on the track here in the series. Now, there was a manufacturers championship running this season at the first half of the season, but due to low numbers now, we've decided to eliminate the manufacturer part of the event just because the teams haven't been solid and stable all season long. We don't think that it's fair to the rest of the manufacturers that may only have one out of the two drivers running every week. So now this just became a solo championship between the drivers, and I think that's where we're starting to see the feistiness and the pace pick up out of these drivers, because it's no longer a team game with the Pro and the Pro-Ams. Now it's an individual championship between the Pros and between the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, it's really bringing out the best in both divisions. Really, each division looking to perhaps stand out from the other division. But I'll tell you, these Pro-Am racers really doing an incredible job here out on track with the Pro division. They're really showing their racing integrity, and it makes for some fantastic racing.
Absolutely, and Tron Colby and Type R been having a healthy little battle here. Tron Colby's finally managed to get himself ahead of Type R here, put himself up in 8th place, but Type R is tucked right back in behind him, ready to try and respond on that position change, and by doing that, Action Jackson's starting to close in on these two as well and behind in 10th place. So with just under 12 minutes remaining here, we definitely have some battles developing here on this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hairraiser sitting here in P7 finds himself just 3 seconds behind Puzzlement. Puzzlement diving into the pits for a final late pit stop. And we'll see how that plays out for as Tone Colby now coming around. He's in P8, followed very closely by Type R. Type R just right there, as well as Snozzer in P10. All three of these drivers very close to one another in proximity.
I kind of feel like she may have waited just a little too long to make that final pit stop. She's just going to come out in behind these three drivers, but that cost her 3 positions on the racetrack. I feel if she could have maybe made that pit stop, say, even 8 or 9 minutes ago, I think that she might have been able to stay ahead of these guys or be right in the middle of trying to pass this group here at this point in the racetrack. So it might have just been a smidge of a late decision on that second pit stop here from Puzzlement. But again, you know, first league race for her, first competitive league here for her, I believe in her sim racing career. So you know, lessons learned, and you don't know till you try. You never know, it could work out for her. We're not finished here yet.
No, absolutely. As you say, just over 10 minutes remaining in this race. So approximately 5 laps left in this race. But I do have to concur, for myself, that would have been a bit of a late pit stop strategy, as it doesn't, even though you're on a fresh set of tires, it doesn't leave you very many laps to try to gain those positions back. However, still 5 laps to go at least left in this race. And you never know on the racetrack what's going to happen. Anything can happen on the racetrack.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is a timed endurance race too, everybody watching at home. So just because the 60 minutes is up does not mean that the race is over. The drivers that have crossed the start-finish line just before that 60-minute mark has came will essentially run another full lap before the race is officially over. So the drivers do need to count for that in that stop for their final stint, that, hey, I may need another lap of fuel.
Absolutely. That's one of the strategies that I've personally picked up on lately is no matter what, I always put in one extra lap of fuel because just as you said, if you cross that line 1 second before that 60-minute mark, you're in for a whole nother lap. And if you haven't accounted for that and you don't have the fuel to make it, boy, it can really ruin your race. I've experienced it.
Absolutely, and even sometimes 10 seconds after that timer runs out, that driver will get to go around one more time as well. Sometimes the stewards feel that that driver may have a chance at position and will let that driver run around one more time, so you just never know. Always got to make sure that you think of the unexpected.
Yeah, the alternative strategy, so to speak, is in, if you were doing a set number of laps, uh, just adding that extra one lap of fuel is going to allow for you to not have to worry about doing any type of fuel management whatsoever. You can just go flat out. So it's pretty much the same principle here.
Absolutely, and we're just taking a look at all the tire and fuel situations here as we come through our field, and we're not seeing a whole lot of variation and difference between the one-stoppers here. CRF has an amazing amount of fuel. He could probably even start pushing a little bit here to try and close that gap on Bo Snipe if he opted to. We got Tap here in 5th place, and I mean his tires look amazing, his fuel is good, but 20 seconds to 4th place driver. He's going to really need that driver to make a mistake, I think, to have an opportunity at a 4th place battle here today. We got Hair Razor here in 6th place. We've got Tron Kobe in 7th. We've got Type R in 8th, very closely followed by Action Jackson Snozzer here in 9th place, and Puzzlement closing in. 2.4 seconds now is that gap on that group, so let's see if she can make something happen here in the last 7.5 minutes of this race.
Indeed, she opted to just go in and get that splash and dash. Didn't take on any new, fresher tires for her, and it appears to most certainly be proving beneficial in the time lost for taking on an extra set of tires versus just getting the splash and dash and continuing on with the race. She is closing that gap to P9's Snozzer, and Type R just 1 second ahead there, so she may very well indeed still pick up 2 more positions and coming away with a great race here today. Either way, it's been a great race for her. So.
Well, Pigham's and Apex Racing's Jakey there, just lapping Doug Barrow there. Now, that's something I can say in 2 years of broadcasting for the GTRC I have never seen happen. So, Doug Barrow, definitely having an off race day here today at Dragon Trail Seaside.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself earlier. He's definitely not his usual self here in racing today. And it's really shown a time or two throughout the race, and perhaps that may actually be due to the latest update here on GT7, as the Lexus has become a heavier handling car and not quite so quick. So perhaps that playing part in his performance here today as well.
He's also on a controller driver here in the series as well, so we all know that controller drivers have a harder time managing their tires in a situation like this as well. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for all you controller drivers that might be watching. It is more than possible, but it does take a finesse and a little bit of a knack and a lot of practice in order to save tires like the people on the wheel and pedals. It can be done. I used to do it myself, but it really does take a lot of work and time put in. And, so controller drivers tend to struggle a little bit under endurance racing scenarios with heavy tire wear. Not necessarily small tire wear, but definitely heavy tire wear, just due to the rotational direction of how you drive with a controller compared to a wheel. A wheel, you have a little more steering input control, so to speak. The amount of turn you're putting into your wheels. Where controller, if you don't have it set right, you don't roll your joysticks just right, and you don't move those controller sticks just right, it's going to eat those tires up a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make for just being smooth a little bit more difficult as a task, but as you said, it's most certainly possible. Some of the fastest and best drivers I personally know are on controller, and you wouldn't know it just by watching them on track. They're very efficient, and the job can most certainly be done on controller, and keep right up with these fellas, guys or gals on a wheel. That really doesn't matter. It's just that comfortability with the controller and trying to maintain that smoothness.
Absolutely, and Bandit, so Toyota 86 got a car in pit lane here now as well. Taking a look at that car, Bandit's had a rough day today here too as well, so maybe something knocked the jar there in that last little meeting with the feeding there, and maybe just finally something gave up there underneath that race car.
Yeah, indeed it happens. These race cars can only take so much damage for sure, and things go wrong, things happen, and you never know what to expect under these type of conditions. And what I mean by that is the endurance racing aspect of it. The longer a race goes on, the more wear and tear on the driver and the race car.
Well, chat, you can see what I'm looking at here right now, and I think that we are leading up for a very interesting final run here. That Toyota Supra that's leading there has, well, not quite the same amount of fuel as the driver in behind him here right now. These drivers need 2 more laps. It is going to be nip and tuck here for some of these drivers to get around with enough fuel in the tanks of their cars.
Yeah, absolutely, and Jakey sitting in a really incredible spot. And as we say that, Jakey makes the move, does get that move done on Piggums, and now will look to just try to run away with this race. Not easily going to be done, but funny how we're talking about Doug not having the greatest race here. But as you can see, this gentleman racer, oh, Piggums gets all sorts of slideways as we're talking there. Wow, what a great save. But again, back to Doug, showing his incredible pace. He does have the pace to keep up with any of these drivers on the track, as he is still all over the back of Piggums.
Absolutely.
And Jakey.
And we'll have to see if Piggums can respond here now to Jake there again. Fuel starting to play a factor into the race for some of these drivers here.
Yeah, still 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in this race, and they very well may still have 2 laps remaining in this race. It's not over. It's going to be really, really close as to whether or not this is going to be 1 lap or 2, but it does look as though it's going to be just 1 more lap for each of these racers leading the pack here today.
Yeah, I do agree. We're at a minute 40 coming into this second last corner here with our race leader Jakey, so this will be our final lap here, and oh boy, Piggums is going to have to make that splash and dash. So Jakey is going to take the race lead, and as long as he's got the fuel to take this car around, he will be our race winner today. Piggums, he's got to make that pit stop. That is huge for Bo Snipe and CRF right now. So Bo Snipe got the fuel. He's going to go ahead and P2, but he is flashing in the red there as well. CRF's coming around. He's flashing in the red. He's going to jump up ahead of Piggums. Ooh, it's going to be very close here as they come out. Piggums is just coming out of pit lane here. CRF comes around into this first corner here. So here we go, coming into Hollow Bones, and he's got about a 2.5 to 3 second gap on Piggums. So let's see what happens here. Jakey in the lead, Bo Snipe now in second thanks to a fuel miscalculation from Piggums there. We've got CRF here in third place now, and well, with less than a lap to go and a 3 second gap on the driver in behind, looking pretty good for a podium finish here.
Yeah, for sure, and I've got to say, you know, Apex's Jakey, wow. The fuel management, his strategy, his tire degradation management, absolutely on point is this racer. Nearly every single race, his tires still looking really, really good as we approach the final minutes, coming through the feeding the last time, and oh man, Bandit Z just getting it wrong there, and Jakey having to avoid that driver, and does a fantastic job of it. That was incredibly good stuff. Bandit's apparently invisible on our screen at the moment when that happened. That was a little weird, but all right. So here we go. Jakey coming through Chimera in the Cottle Fin struts right now. He's got Doug Bro right in behind him there too as well. So it's going to be round 8 race win for Apex Racing's Jakey here as Doug comes around, I believe, in 12th place there. Yeah, that's going to leave Bo Snipe coming around here now for his second place finish tonight, and that is a first place finish in the Pro-Am division for Bo Snipe. Yeah, absolutely. And once again, really, Bo just showing what.
CRF coming around here, third overall, second for the pros, followed by Piggums, who's still going to find that podium position in the pros. Bandit Zeke coming across the line there in 13th as well. So it is going to be Apex, Jakey, CRF, and Piggums rounding out our pro division finish here. Sierra Bo Snipe with a first place run for the Pro-Ams. He's going to be followed up by Tap here in second place for our Pro-Ams. And it looks like it's going to be Trone Kobe here, our final third place finisher here for the Pro-Ams. Harriers are going to come around in P6 there. Where is Mr. Trone? There is Trone. He's just coming out of slumber right now, heading into Chimera, and he's got 9 seconds to Type R. So it will be a P3 finish for Trone Kobe here in our Pro-Am division as well today.
Yeah, and I'll tell you quite the little story with UTAP there. On his final lap, he absolutely demolished his fastest lap. He was flying there on some pretty decently worn medium set of racing tires. He was cruising, comes in with a 146.742, just 3/4 of a second off the fastest lap. So he was cruising.
All right, pole position and clean race bonus there for our race winner, Apex Jakey. So we're just going to take a look at those results there. So it is Apex Racing's Jakey in the Pro Division with the overall win and first place for Pro. It's Bo Snipe in second place overall and the first place finish in Pro-Am. CRF will take second place finish in Pro, followed by third place finisher in the Pro, Piggums, and Piggums is going to take home fastest lap. Tap is our second place finisher in our Pro-Am division, followed up by Hair Razor finishing fourth in Pro. That puts Trone Kobe in third place in the Pro-Am division, and Action Jackson just right in behind there in fourth place in Pro-Am. Fifth place Pro-Am is Type R, followed right in behind him with Happy Pappy with a sixth place Pro-Am finish, a seventh place Pro-Am finish for Puzzlement. Doug Burrow, unfortunately, with a fifth place Pro finish here today. Bandit Zeke is going to get a 13th and 8th place finish for Pro-Am, and Miss Devious will get a 6th place finish in P14 there for the disconnect early on in the race. So not terrible points there for Miss Devious with only 6 pros on the field, but nonetheless still a disconnect, and hate to see it.
Yeah, most unfortunate, and I can tell you, well, it does do some emotional damage to these racers. Hey, we got Mr. Ghost Viper as well coming up into the stream with the like on the stream. Absolutely appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you. Hope you and yours are doing absolutely fantastic today. And y'all, I gotta say, man, what a race! What a race! Each of these drivers really putting on a show here today. And as we mentioned a couple of times during the broadcast, if we did never mention to you that this was a mixture of Pro and Pro-Am divisions, tell me honestly, would you have known the difference?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think especially if you're a new viewer and you don't know what the process here is at the GTRC, I think for sure that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference here today. It was some great racing out there tonight. All right, so we do have some of our drivers starting to pop in here, so we're just going to let them filter in. There we go. Trone's got the right one now. Fantastic. So we have two of our Pro-Ams and one of our Pro drivers here currently. We'll just give him a couple more minutes to see. Now, we might not see Apex Jakey here today, as he has another competition to get to tonight as well. So and we speak of the devil. We're actually going to talk to him first, just so he can get on his way. He does, again, have another race he needs to take care of here today. So while we wait for the rest of our drivers, let's talk to our overall race winner and first place for the Pro Division, Apex Racing Jakey. First and foremost, great racing out there. Very close to you and Piggums all race long. Part of your strategy just to chill out with Piggums there and hopefully get that move done at the end of the race?
Yeah, it was a massive fuel save for me. I was using fuel mops all race, letting off about 100, 150 metres early into the braking zone, using a higher gear through every corner. So sitting in this draft helped me save a bit more fuel and paid dividends at the end, because somehow we made 17 laps in the second stint. But yeah, it was a good race overall.
Absolutely, and I was saying midway through the broadcast, I know that the McLaren's not the greatest on fuel. So when Piggums got around you in the first stint, was that planned to allow him to go around there, or did you just make a little mistake and he just managed to get his way around there?
Made a little mistake and managed to get around, but I needed to save fuel anyway. I was burning a bit much out front, but luckily came in with the matching fuel that he did. So that gave me a bit of a sigh of relief. I was thinking he was going to come in with about 5 or 10% more.
Absolutely.
So it worked out in the end.
Unfortunately for him there, he had to make that splash and dash near the end there, and just salvaging podium finish there at the end of the race there was Piggins as well. So, Nolander, you want any questions for our race winner here today?
Well, firstly, great race. 60 minutes of absolutely intense battling between yourself and Piggums. And my only question would be for you, my guy, is what do you suppose has been the most beneficial thing in your collecting of your knowledge on your fuel saving methods and your tire saving methods, because you seem to do a fantastic job of that week in and week out. You're really on point with what you need to do to accomplish a race win or podium win in each and every race.
It was something that Piggins actually told me. It was the rule of being 100%. So you do 80% steering, you only really want to do 20% throttle without over pushing the tyres, etc. And it goes up each time. The percentages change. So yeah, thanks to him for that, because it's definitely helped me with my consistency, my tyre wear, being able to save fuel throughout the races. It's definitely a big help.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see how it would be, but definitely congratulations on your P1 finish here today, and definitely wish you the best in life and on track for your next racing event, my guy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my guy. Well, again, another great run in that McLaren here for round 8 at Dragon Trail Seaside. So anything you want to add to your race, and any shout outs and thank yous?
Shout out to you guys commentating. Always fun to watch back, as always. You guys putting it on behind the scenes at GTRC. It's always some good fun to race in here. I have a busy week, but it does let me get my head down a little bit, a change from the intense grind as such. But thanks to Apex Racing team as well for pushing me to be as good as I can be.
Absolutely, and always, teams always help. Big team there over there at Apex Sim Racing. They're definitely a group that works together on pace and everything strategy related. So, big win here for Apex Racing's Jakey and teammate CRF coming in. Nice second place finish just in behind there for the pros as well. So, we'll let you get going and good luck in your next event.
Thank you, sir. Take care, all. Good race.
All right, so let's see who else we got. We got Pro-Ams. All right, we got CRF, our second place driver here in the Pro-Am as well today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you know, we said he was just kind of running his race. He didn't seem too concerned about forcing an issue with any driver around him. He just stuck to his race. He stuck to his pace and finds himself in second place. Congratulations, of course, on another great run here. Boy, you're really starting to find some podiums here as the weeks have been passing by here on in all these league races. So talk us through your race and how to go today.
Oh yeah, that was a good one, Ghost. Good rhyme right there. No, but yeah, like you said, not too concerned about what's going on around me. Just had to fuel save, like Jakey said. That was the main thing for me. I knew I had to do one extra lap on one of the stints, so I just had to keep my pace, and whatever else happened on the track happened on the track. So yeah, this is where I ended up today.
Absolutely, and I mean, we all know Dragon Trail Seaside. It's got that chicane, one of the most brutal sectors in the game as far as under pressure situations goes. Any issues getting through the chicane here today for you? It didn't seem like it.
No, actually I felt super comfortable in the vet going through the chicane. I actually wanted to just keep it wide open, but I was like, hey, let's just play it smart, let off just a little bit and then get back on it. So yeah, the chicane was smooth today, so I just like to thank the Dragons for that.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, well, they were well fed today. Lots of sacrifices, lots of ruined race cars here today for Dragon Trails. So, hopefully, the people can be a little bit at ease here tonight. But a great race from you again, and you're a strategic driver. You're a very patient driver, and you got your plan, and you really seem to stick to it, and it worked out here again for you tonight. So, Nolander, I'll let you take it away here.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you, sir, for your service to our country and well deserved P2 finish here for you today. And as Mr. GT45 touched on, really, really just running your own race out there, looked super comfortable the whole time, and we definitely discussed. How you were looking and both of us figured that you were going to do well here in this race. Now coming into it, did you see yourself coming out on podium here today?
Well, first off, thank you, Nolander. Appreciate that. No, honestly, I don't ever picture myself on the podium. I know there's tons of fast guys here, and I'm more of a consistent driver, not the fastest. So I just kind of let the race come to me as it comes, and whatever happens at the end is where I end up. I put in the work and practice during the week, so I don't try to leave anything to chance. So yeah, but other than that, I just try to run my race and do the best that I can.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A very strategic and humble racer here in CRF. And definitely congratulations on your P2 finish here today, my guy. And certainly look forward to seeing more of you out on track. And it's always wonderful to see racers coming into these leagues and just having and experiencing the growth in your overall racecraft, man. Absolutely brilliant stuff from you here today.
Yeah, thank you, Nolander, and nice to finally get to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, man. Definitely.
All right. I mean, patient race for you. You had some great battling early on in that first stint, but it was patient battling. Like we figured, you weren't really too worried about putting any immediate pressure and making that mistake. And I mean, but Pigham's having to make that last lap pit stop there because you're just a little short on fuel. Was that something you were expecting to see today?
Absolutely not, Ghost. I literally was like, all right. Honestly, I thought Bo was in the pro division because he was pretty fast today. And usually I race with him anyway, but I was like, hey, I have fourth place. That's good enough for me. Let's take this home. And then I saw Piggums hit the pits, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to happen. So yeah, and I knew I had enough fuel to push on that last lap. So I was like, I saw the time when he came out, and I was like, man, I could do this. I could hold him off for that. And yeah, sure enough, came across the line third best, so it was good to go.
Absolutely. So third overall in the race today and second in your division here today as well. So great points for you here too as well, heading into round 9 in a couple weeks' time. So I guess anything you want to add to your race today and any shout-outs?
No, just good race, and thanks for everybody watching, the fans, GTRC, yourself, Ghost, always a pleasure. Nolander, nice to meet you. And, the Apex Racing team, like Jakey said, always pushing me to get better. And, just them watching and, giving me pointers here and there. But, yeah, thanks to everyone. And, yeah, have a good day, everyone.
Absolutely, and again, congratulations, Apex Sim Racing 1 and 2 here in the Pro Division today. But great race, and can't wait to see what you have in the next one.
Thank you, Ghost. You have a good day, man. Thank you.
Cheers, you too. All right, so that takes care of our Pro Division here. Pigham's not in the chat. He may also have somewhere else he needs to be, so which is fine. The drivers aren't required to be here. It's just that they want to come and talk to you, all you amazing people that are watching from home. So let's move down into our Pro-Am division split here now. And I got to tell you, these Pro-Ams definitely put some pressure on these pro drivers today. We have some pro caliber drivers in our Pro-Am division. It's just the way the splits worked out this season, but that's also pushed the rest of the Pro-Am drivers to become faster and better. And it really showed today. Actually, we've seen great pace from the whole field today. And special shout out to Puzzlement. She was the quickest I have ever seen her so far in competition. So keep doing what you're doing. It is working, and I can't wait to see what she's going to bring before the end of the season as well. But let's talk to Troll and Kobe, BMW driver here. He's been quick all season long, and this is one of those drivers that is right there every season when he qualifies, potentially on the cusp of a pro division pace. So he has definitely been up to the challenge this season to try and catch up to some of these quicker top half pro-am drivers, and today good enough for a P3 finish. So first and foremost, congratulations on a great race today, Tyrone. It was definitely a spicy one for you, a lot of action, a lot of battling, so talk us through it.
Yeah, yeah, it was a rough race for sure. Trying to keep up with everybody else. Unfortunately, the BMW is harsh on tires and fuel, so I had to go for my infamous two-stop, trying to work my way through the field.
Absolutely, and we've seen a couple two-stop strategies happening on the track. Of course, Hair Razor in that Mustang as well on a two-stop, and I believe Sarah was Puzzlement, pardon me, was also on a two-stop as well. But it was a one-stop dominant race, but it still was enough to get you onto the podium here today. So it's a little bit of a different look on a racetrack when you've got a multi-class race going on with a pro and a pro-am division. Does that change the way you come into the race as far as your strategy goes and what your game plan is?
Not really. I expect the pros to be quicker. I hope to keep up with them, but I just couldn't manage it. But it's just all about keeping my head down and doing my race.
Absolutely, and very well said. And Mr. Nolander, you want to take it away, Mr. Kobe?
Yeah, certainly. I've seen you race many times, Mr. Tron Colby, and definitely a formidable racer in each and every race that you get into. Now, I did have a quick question for you. I just want to know what has been most beneficial for you in the overall growth of your racecraft. What's helped you the most?
Um, Practicing. I have and try to get the best game plan possible. I always want to go for an underdog strategy to kind of push myself through a race and stay consistent, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. Track time definitely invaluable, and you got to have it to stay sharp. You got to have it to continue to learn and grow your racecraft. But definitely, congratulations on a great race here from you today. Looking all sorts of smooth as usual, my guy.
All right, thank you.
Certainly, you're welcome, man.
You've been having a good run this season. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to bring the standings up during the broadcast, so I don't actually offhand know exactly where you're sitting, but I know you're fighting right there for the top end of the championship point standings here this season. We have 4 races remaining, so I guess what's the thought process now moving forward as we're kind of heading into the final charge of the championship here?
Um, trying to trying to keep going, racing, get as much as I can. Unfortunately, both Snipe is too far ahead for me to catch him. I just want to do my race.
And I mean, anything can happen still, too. I mean, we always have the factor of course, internet connections, game issues, lobby issues, little bugs and glitches that happen from week to week within the game, it seems like. It is always possible that one of those drivers that is, quote unquote, got a good spread or out of reach could have a disconnect. Does that change things then all of a sudden?
Yeah, it changes. Yeah, it changes things. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't want to win just because of that, but if it happens, I'll take it.
Absolutely. And I mean, practice makes perfect. Seat time obviously is crucial for anybody who's a new racer out there, or you're thinking about league racing, or maybe you're just struggling in league racing. Practice makes perfect. Seat time means everything. And, if you're a league racer, the biggest trick, especially if you're a new league racer, is really only focus on one, maybe 2 tops at a time. That way there you can really put the time in with the car combo, the track combo. You can find some people to work with and help you out, and that is the best way to do it. So I mean, we see you around quite a bit, but you've really kind of slowed down on the amount of leagues you're running. And do you think that's kind of starting to really help find that next level of pace for you?
Yes, because I didn't want to overwhelm myself with running multiple leagues. So yeah, that definitely helps. And it's definitely helped when they have it spread out with like 2 weeks for each race.
Absolutely. So a little bit of time, of course, to prepare and let the crews get the information they need, and of course, the drivers need to test as well. But overall, really great race for you here again today. A third place finish for the Pro-Am division. Anything you want to add to your race, and any shout-outs and thank yous?
Shout out, thank you to this league for having me here, and shout out to THG for letting me join their team, and shout out to the commentators for great commentary.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you. And again, just great race, and can't wait to see you next week, my man.
All right.
You have yourself a wonderful rest of your weekend.
You too.
Great interviews by our drivers, as always, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta tell you, the drivers are always got great responses for the questions. They don't know what we're gonna ask them in these interviews. We just kind of take it as it comes to us, as what happened in the race, and always great answers from these drivers. So just a huge shout out to the drivers that are on the podiums every week. They do a great job at being respectful and answering those questions, and great job to the whole field week in and week out for providing great action as well. So with that being said, let's talk to our second place driver here in our Pro-Am division today, and it is Taps. So this is an experienced racer. Again, he is a potential pro caliber driver here. He just ended up in the top end of the Pro-Am split here this season, and this is one of the drivers that's definitely been putting some of the pressure on the rest of the field. And having some faster drivers in a division is not a bad thing, because it does force the rest of the field in behind to really step up their game, because they want to keep up. They want to try and beat that driver. So although some people see it as a bad thing, I don't see it as a bad thing as a part of a league organizer or a commentator. I see it as education for the drivers that are still learning. So Tap is one of these drivers, and he's been putting on a pretty good run this season, and a second place finish here in your division today. So it wasn't without it being easy. You had plenty of battles on the racetrack all race long. Talk us through your race today.
The main part was just trying to make sure I had the fuel to get through the race, because oh my god, that Mercedes, if I ran the gears to get the good times, it just drank it. So I had to make sure short shifted the whole race, and then I just had a couple of those hiccups when I went too wide in a couple of corners on like a lap 13 or so, and 14 I just lost the gap to Bo, and I just couldn't get anything back. But it's still Sarah, though, she wouldn't stop. She was great.
She was really relentless today.
I
mean,
leave me alone.
not just with you, but with several of the drivers. I mean, she has come a long way in a short amount of time, and I think that the Pro-Am division should really start to take notice that, boy, oh boy, is Puzzlement coming through the field, and she is on a tear right now. She looked really good out there today. So, I want to say, I guess if there's a Driver of the Day award that we had here, I'm sure Nolander would probably say much the same thing, but we talked about her quite a bit today. It would be her for sure today. Just watching her develop and grow and seeing today's race, by far the best race I've seen from here so far at GTRC.
Yeah, my biggest learning curve lately has been using that VR for all of this. It's been a bit of a struggle and set me back a bit, but it's getting there now.
So you were one of the VR drivers here in the series as well. We do have a couple other ones in there. Miss Devious as well as a VR driver here in the series. Unfortunately for her, something happened early on in the race there. But nonetheless, you had a great, and like I said, it wasn't an easy race for you. You had plenty of battles. You were constantly driving in dirty air. You were constantly trying to keep a driver off your rear bumper. I mean, how does that weigh on you for 60 minutes and 61 and a half minutes in this case tonight in a race? Is it just something you get used to, or does it really weigh on the back of your mind?
I'd say for the first 20 minutes or 15 minutes, that first little bit is where it gets the most intense. But after that, you kind of settle into it. And then, as it comes at you in the race, then it's not as bad. But that first little bit, I find it very crucial. If you don't stay concentrated for that, you might get you.
Absolutely. Mr. Nolander.
Yeah, man. Just want to say congratulations on a great race here today. And as Mr. GT45 touched on, you really battling throughout the entire race. But what I found to be really impressive is your last lap, man. You crushed your lap time and came in just under 0.4 of a second away from gaining getting the fastest lap on the racetrack here today. Now, what motivates you as a racer personally to knowing you're likely not going to gain another position, but still putting down a blazing fast lap there on your last lap of the race?
I was just trying to get as many of those little tiny points to get up to Bo, since being rotational kind of work, I don't get as much the whole race. Some of the races I get missed, so I'm trying to make up as much of those points. And then I knew I had the fuel for it. The tires were all right, so I'm like, I'm gonna try and push for this fast lap, see if I can get it. But just came up short, but it was a good push.
It was very good. Very nearly had it, man. But definitely congratulations on your race finish here today. Always looking smooth, and again had yourself some great battles on track, and overall just a really well put together race from you, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, and you guys too. Congratulations. Great on the commentary. I'm sure I'll have to catch the race after again, just so I can hear it all. But you guys do such a great job.
We really do appreciate that. Absolutely.
Indeed.
All right. So, like you said, you've missed a few races this season, obviously, due to real life. Real life factors in, obviously, to these championships here as well. Are you pretty happy with where you're sitting so far in the standings, with that being said?
Yeah, so far, pretty good. Because, with the point missing, it makes sense for where I'm sitting, and, comfortable.
Fantastic. Well, we got 4 races left in the 12-week season here, so...
I might miss the last 2, or maybe, I don't know, it depends, because we got that many, so it kind of helps out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what's the thought process moving forward here? Like you said, because of your rotational work, you've kind of just had to maximize your points when you are on track. Is that much of the same mentality moving forward for the final part of the season as well?
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much how I've been going about it the whole time.
Absolutely. Well, very quality racer, and hopefully next season works out better, where you can get a full run at that season and really show the fans what you got on the racetrack. But definitely a good quality driver here is Tap, ladies and gentlemen. Long-standing member, of course, of the Gran Turismo racing community as well. So, anything you want to add to your race today, and any shout-outs?
Well, great race. Everyone did well. I really enjoyed it. All the moving around and whatnot. Shout out to everyone in the league, you guys, and all the fans out there on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. Have a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have yourself a good rest of the weekend. And again, great drive here with that second place finish today.
Thanks, bud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, last but definitely not least, Mr. Bo Snipe. Bo Snipes, again, another one of those drivers that's a long-standing member of the Gran Turismo racing community. This driver hasn't had the amount of time and experience throughout the process of the GTRC as a lot of these other drivers have had. He's had a lot of disconnection issues in the past. This season, things seem to be working out better. A little bit of equipment upgrading and a lot of patience and a lot of time and workarounding with the league to try and help him out. And he's been able to have a fantastic full operational season this season. And boy, oh boy, is he taking advantage of it. So first and foremost, congratulations on a great race win again, right there with those pro drivers, really showing them what you got. Talk us through it, man. How'd it go today and how you feeling?
Race went pretty good. There was an incident in the chicane of death. Got caught up in that, so that's where I think that's where my time was lost to the leaders. But got back in rhythm, got the car fixed, and just worked my strategy right. It was going to be tight on fuel, tires. They were going to make it barely, but the fuel was the job in this race for the Lexus, to get the fuel to the end of lap 16. So that was the job. Fortunately, as the race went on, I figured out how to save the fuel that I needed to save, but still have pretty good pace. I actually surprised myself by that, but I remember having conversations with Piggums and Jakey and Paymay and those guys about the fast guys. Somehow they managed to do that. Somehow they find a way to be fast, but are saving that fuel. So it's something I've been working on, and I think I found a little bit of a technique today. So I was able to save the fuel I needed, but have pretty decent pace. And the biggest thing is I just stuck to that. I stuck to the strategy because I couldn't really press any harder than I already was.
Absolutely. And what was it, a third place overall finish here, I believe, in the race tonight for you? Second place overall, wasn't it?
Yes, second.
Second, yeah.
Second
So,
overall. Yeah.
pro-am drivers, like I said, like we said at the beginning of the broadcast chat, some of these pro-am drivers are pro-caliber quality drivers. So, Bow Snipe really put the pressure on them. Now, you think maybe if you didn't get collected in the chicane, I mean, this is just a what if. Obviously, what happens happens. We can't change it. It happens. But if you didn't get collected up there in that little bit of early incident in the chicane, there, you think maybe you might have been putting some pressure on that first, second place driver at the end of the day today?
You know, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think I would have been there. Now, when as the race is running, I'm watching their gap, and they were getting away from me. But I had an idea that they may have been close enough together that they were drafting together where they could, and that was allowing their pace to be a bit quicker. But I'd like to believe, had I been there with them, that I would have been able to, put some pressure on them and race them a little bit and make them sweat some.
Absolutely, and I don't disagree with you on that either. But I'm sure that you got a pretty happy team manager here right now, just waiting to talk to you. So, Mr. Team Owner, Mr. Team Owner Nolander, you want to talk with Mr. Bow Snipe?
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, most certainly very happy to have Bo on Team Rad. Has been a great addition to the team, and I find myself learning from him constantly. And secondly, congratulations again on a fantastic race here for you today, ending up obviously P1 in your division, but overall P2. And I have no doubts whatsoever that that little incident aside, you'd have most certainly been right up there with those guys. And as it was, you were still only just 10 seconds behind him at the end of the race. So most certainly, I could have very easily seen you right up there with them and battling with them, as you've definitely proven yourself to have some incredible pace and very knowledgeable racer, and definitely very happy once again to have you on Team Rad. And I certainly enjoy watching your racing because, like I said, I learn from you too, man. So congratulations again on your P2 finish here today. Incredible race from you, man.
Thank you. Go Team Rad.
Indeed, my guy.
And just for the confusion, ladies and gentlemen, the second place overall race finished first in his division today.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, it definitely incredibly good stuff, man. Definitely showing that you most certainly belong up there in the pro division, and I have no doubts in my mind that that's where we're going to see you moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I measure myself off of those guys. I try to practice with those guys when I can. I actually joined another league where those guys are at, so that I can pick up any knowledge from them possible. So I'm running 2 leagues. But I jumped in that second league to run with those guys, with those next level racers, to learn what I can from them. So the improvement you've been seeing is because that's who I'm measuring measuring myself against. So yeah, and plus I know I need to, because at some point that's where I'm going to be. So I want to feel like I'm prepared to take the next step when that time comes.
Yeah, indeed, man. And that's how we get faster as racers. You just always putting yourself on track with the fastest racers you possibly can, and you're of course going to learn from them. And then of course there's that extra bit of drive, extra bit of motivation to try to keep up with them, and finding yourself doing that lately. And so I'm super happy for you, man, and definitely congratulations again on a fantastic race here for you tonight, my guy.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm proud to represent Team Rad.
And we're proud to have you too.
All right. I mean, it wasn't an easy race for you. You didn't just get a whole shot runaway. You didn't have clean air the whole race. You had to battle. You had to fight for your positions. You had to use your strategy to try and gain track position. Pickham's runs out of gas. Were you expecting to see that?
I did not. I think there was, with about 5 to go, I was looking at their pace, and I knew they were working together, but I was thinking, one of those guys surely is pushing harder than they should be. But I said, no, those guys are smart. They know what they're doing up there. But for a moment, I thought one of those guys might be overextending themselves. But I just, I went right back to what I was doing, focused on what I was doing. And then, sure enough, one of them pushed just a bit too hard there at the end and had to get a splash.
Absolutely. And I mean, there was a pack of four of you drivers. It was yourself, Tap, it was not Pigums,
Razor, and CRF.
CRF, yeah, it was a great, and you guys, that was a several lap train / battle. I mean, what are you thinking in that moment? Are you just thinking, you know what, I'm just going to stay safe. Maybe this guy's going to make a mistake. I get the free position. If not, then at some point throughout the racetrack here, I'm going to have to set him up for a move. What goes through your mind in that situation? It's still early on in the race. Obviously, you're not too concerned about forcing something because you don't want to make a mistake and wreck the race car, obviously. But what goes through your mind in that situation? It's a multi-lap thing. You're trying to break free. You're trying to get into that clean air. How do you kind of approach that whole situation?
Yeah, it's difficult because you have this fuel strategy that you've got to stay on to make it halfway, right? But then you've got tap. I had tap in front of me, and I was slowly gaining, and then you're slowly gaining, and then you're anxious and you want to gain a little more, a little faster, but you got to stay on that fuel strategy, and it's difficult. You got to stick to the strategy. And the strategy was working, the pace was there, and like I said, I was just gaining a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and then the opportunity came to do the overtake, and got that done. And then behind CRF, same thing, just slowly catching him, but monitoring my strategy, just staying with it, but I was making pace. And then when we came off the last turn, for I think lap what was it, lap 12 or 13, saw Razor pit. So they said, well, there's a spot there. So then I said, nope, I'm doing exactly what I need to do. Just stick to what I'm doing. Don't do any more. And the strategy, I had to stay disciplined to the strategy, but I had good pace. So with the good pace allowed, relieved some anxiety about the strategy.
Absolutely, very consistent. I mean, consistency is always key in endurance racing. We always see the most consistent drivers seem to do fairly well in the races from week to week as well. But it's a good thing that it's very well said what you just said, because it's actually exactly what happened in all three of our finishers here in the Pro-Am lobby. We heard our third place finisher CRF talk about it in the Pro lobby as well. You have to stick to your strategy in these fuel-saving races, no matter what the situation around you is. So a little bit of patience and a little bit of smart decision making on the fly, and just reminding yourself that, hey, I have a strategy, we need to stick to it. Really, really does reward you sometimes, and today with a race win. So massive congratulations. And
thank you. Yeah, if you watch it back, if people get to watch it back, watch my fuel. I don't know if they'll be able to see it, but you'll see at the end of lap 16, I was like 0.3, 0.4 left of fuel, and at the end of the race I was like 0.3, 0.2. I mean, I was dead on my numbers, doing exactly what I was what I figured to do. So I had no room. There was no room to get rambunctious. I had to stick to it.
Absolutely. And I guess anything you want to add to your race here today, and any shout outs to the viewers?
Yeah, congratulations to Jakey on the overall win. Well done by him. Bad luck for Piggums. I felt terrible for him. That was that crushed me a little bit too, to see that happen to him. Want to thank Apex Racing for their continued support of this series. Love that they're willing to support us in what we do here. Want to thank you, Ghost GT45 Gaming, for commentary and the streaming coverage. Appreciate that, and really appreciate that No Lander came in and gave us two commentators for this race. That is really cool. Really appreciate the both of you working that out so that could happen for us. Want to thank Team Lexus for their support as well. I know my teammate had a rough one today. Felt terrible for him, but tried to represent us both as best I could. And a big shout out to the fans. Appreciate the fans. We need all the fans we can get to watch. Can't do it without y'all. I represent GTRC as well, so I want to thank GTRC for putting on this series and all the hard work they do behind the scenes to so that it runs as smoothly as it does, and they get all the information out to us as quickly as they can. And races are organized great. They have a great pre-race meeting that goes really smooth, and everybody understands what's expected. But really, thank you to GTRC as well.
Absolutely, and again, great interviews by all our drivers. So we appreciate you. Massive win here for you tonight. Can't wait to see you in 2 weeks' time.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys. You guys are great. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Well, Mr. Nolander, I guess it's that time. Little post-race recap here. Interesting race on our hands here today. Of course, we didn't have exactly enough drivers to fill 2 different lobbies here today, so we decided to smash the lobbies together and do a little multi-class racing today. And I got to tell you, definitely did not disappoint. Both divisions up to the task. Put on an absolutely great race here for us today. I think this was probably one of the most action-filled races we've seen this season in the GT4 Championship, as well as definitely on that list. Great action. I mean, we were both looking in different places all day long today and talking about battles. I mean, it didn't really seem to matter where we looked on the racetrack. Somebody was fighting with somebody all 60 minutes. I mean, for great racing here, we're seeing some massive, and I mean massive improvements in especially these Pro-Am drivers this season. I mean, just great overall racing here today. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure, no doubt about it, man. As we've touched on a few different times, if we hadn't mentioned anything about there being any type of different divisions on track at one time, you really wouldn't have known, as you stated, that we were seeing battles just left and right all over the racetrack, all race long, and it really made for some incredible racing here. Definitely do want to say that I'd have to agree with you on Puzzleman's race. She had a brilliant race here tonight. Overall finish aside, definitely one of her best performances here. Incredible race, showing some good strategy. Came up just a little bit short on fuel and having to make that final pit stop. Otherwise, she'd have definitely been in the top 7 of our races here today. But you know what? That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And it just an incredible race from each of the racers on track here tonight. Definitely didn't let us down and put on a great show here for us tonight.
Absolutely, and just huge props to all the drivers, especially our drivers that continue to make it week in and week out. The championship matters to them, every point matters to them, and they come in, and no matter what the situation arises, they're here to race, and we do appreciate it. We appreciate all the fans at home coming in, hanging out with us, watching what's going down here today. The racers appreciate it too. They love to come back, rewatch the streams after the race is done at their leisure, and see the fan comments in the chats, and they like to watch the race from our perspective. So we can't do it without the fans and the viewers at home, whether you're at work or you're on vacation or you're just at the park, letting the kids play with maybe the neighbors' kids, whatever the case may be. We really do appreciate it, and we can't do it without you. It's the fire as commentators. It's what gets us excited. It's what keeps us going, is the fact that we know that the fans are looking forward to what's about to show up on their screen. And of course, all the volunteers, the officials, the staff, the stewards, everybody behind the scenes. Can't do it without them. They're the brainchilds behind it. They do all the work behind the scenes to set it up, get everything sorted, get those rules in place and the whole 9 yards. So teamwork does make the dream work here. And it's been a tough season here this season at the GT4 Championship at the GTRC, but boy oh boy, heads down, they're still moving forward, and we're still putting great races on that racetrack every single week.
For sure, and divisions aside, the great thing is, and that keeps all of these racers on a level playing field, is that well, for one, it's just incredible to see each racer grow their racecraft throughout the seasons, and what it takes to really do that, their mindset coming into the races. And as we heard from many of the drivers from the post-race interviews here tonight, that race strategy, and we've seen several incidences where racing discipline, your just being disciplined and staying with your racing strategy no matter what happens on the track, really proving to pay dividends here for racers, especially in these endurance races. It makes all the difference in the world, as Bo kind of touched on a little bit there. Really just having that driver right in front of them, and knowing that you are gaining on that driver and really wanting to push just that little bit extra, but maintaining the discipline and not doing so. And it's just incredible to watch each of these racers, no matter what division, and their growth in their overall racecraft. It's just fantastic to watch. I love seeing the growth of each of these racers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're a month away, 2 months away, just the way this series is spread out. But we're 4 rounds away from crowning Pro and Pro-Am division champions here. So things are starting to heat up. I do suspect we're going to start seeing grids fill up a little bit here near the finale as well. But I gotta tell you, it's going to be a battle for those podium finishes here this season. We're also supplying a Driver of the Year award away as well. It's going to be one driver picked between the 2 divisions, and that's going to be decided by the broadcasters and the administration staff on who that driver is going to be this season. So we do have some fun little stuff for the drivers here this season as well, and that's just to say thank you for their time, their effort, and everything they provide us to be able to bring the content to all the folks at home. So huge shout out to GTRC and its community and its drivers. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
Oh yeah, man, that's good stuff. It's an extra little bit of motivation for each of the racers on track, and it's just nice to see communities coming together in support of one another, racers coming together in support of one another. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no community out there in the gaming world like the racing community. They are 100% for each other, even though it's a competition on track. They're most willing to throw down tips, ideas, strategies, and just help one another grow in their overall racecraft. And that's my favorite thing about the racing community is everybody willing to lend a hand to another racer, even though it's a competition. Don't find it anywhere else in gaming.
No, and that's true, and I mean, just huge shout out to the sim racers out there and the fans alike. It all makes for a beautiful sequence of events, and we'll be back next Saturday at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, here for our Round 3 mini-series Super Radical Cup here at the GTRC. So the GT4 drivers getting about a 13-day break to get ready for Round 9, and in the meantime, we'll have some Radical Super Series for everybody here next weekend. So Mr. Nolander, as always, love having you in the box. Always a great time. I think there's not much else to be said, but we had a pretty great race here tonight.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Definitely, always a pleasure getting to do the comms with you, and again, always learning from you. And I certainly appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely. I got to say, Nolander was absolutely on fire tonight, chat. I was just sitting back enjoying leaving him take the lead here tonight. Great comms by Nolander Gaming over there on Facebook. Make sure you go like, share, and subscribe to that man. Great commentator. Appreciate you, my dude.
Hey, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Same for you. Like I tell everybody, hey, I've learned from the best in the business, so it's definitely been an incredible pleasure to learn from you, to get to call comms with you, and for all your help. I thank you greatly, my friend.
Absolutely. Nolander community, I love you guys and gals. We'll see you all very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was some great racing tonight. As one of the sponsors of the GTRC here, GT45 Gaming, I see great potential with this organization, this group, the community, the drivers. It's been a rough go this season. Anybody who's a part of the community is no stranger. We've had, some adversities to face here this season with the sponsorships and the multi-divisions. We're learning a lot of things here at the GTRC community. Hasn't gone 100% as planned. Very rarely does it, but you know what? it's still going and we're still here, and I really appreciate all our drivers still here competing. So four more rounds, 8 more weeks, we're crowning a champion here in our Pro and Pro-Am division at the GTRC GT4 Championship, and the week before that we're crowning a Radical Super Cup champion as well. So until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay strong, play smart, be safe, stay winning. And remember, you all matter. Our doors are always open. We're always here to help. And we love you all so much. Thank you for all the continued support here at GT45 Gaming and the GTRC and No Lander Gaming. We'll see you all next time. Have a great weekend.